I want to talk to you about criticism in leadership. We've got a lot of business leaders, Adam, watching and listening, and I noticed this more than I'd ever seen it before, but I think it's the onset of social media to where now everybody's got a voice. Some coward on a keyboard with an egg as a profile pic can lob a criticism at $1 billion company and the CEO quakes. But I want you to speak to criticism in general because you are the product. As a comedian, host, actor, when you put your name on something, you're the product. And I'm sure you've been criticized 1 billion times. You also take very clear, authentic takes on stuff. And you strike me as a guy who has figured it out how to handle criticism as a human. With that being the context, I want to let you roll here on leaders, specifically in politics and in business, who quake at the smallest or the first shot of criticism. What can they learn from somebody like you on how to deal with criticism? Because that's part of the deal when you're a leader.
I don't really think you have to deal with criticism. You have to deal with accuracy. And then once you're accurate, then the chips are going to fall where they may. You know,
love that.
When you start talking about what's troubling the black community, I go, not enough dads. Dads need to stay at home. Dads need to raise the kids. And then you get criticized. Okay, fine. Lots of criticism because of this point that dads need to stay home in the black community, and it would be very impactful, and it would solve a lot of the problems that we're talking about that lead from this. And then so people get very critical of you. Your job is to be accurate. Your job is not to be liked. It's not a popularity contest. Whether you're running a company, running a country, or having an opinion, or talking into a microphone, or talking to your Uber driver, it's just about accuracy. Once you're accurate, and once you can authentically know and say that you're accurate, then whatever happens past that, that's up to them. That has nothing to do with you. So, I mean, it's like if you said to your kids, hey, we need scrambled eggs for breakfast. And they were like, I want Lucky Charms. And you go, no, it's not healthy. Scrambled eggs are healthy. And then they all started screaming at you and crying. Well, that's their business. You're just the guy who wants your kid to have eggs and healthy food. They can scream all they want. They can talk all they want. But if you take it into sort of a context of like parent-child, you go, well, of course. Of course they can't have candy for breakfast, and of course they have to do their homework. Of course you have to impose a bunch of stuff that they don't want, that's not going to make you popular. It's going to make them temporarily upset. By the way, big picture, they'll respect you. But temporarily, they're going to be very upset at you because of these truths that you're imparting upon them. And then once you have established you're accurate, then you have to speak it. And then after that, you're done. There's whatever. People may applaud. People may jeer. People may try to cancel you. That is none of your concern at that point. Your job is to be accurate and tell the truth. And not try to win people over by agreeing with them or promising them.
Well, let me push back on this for the audience. I think I hear what you're saying. There are times when leaders have to make a decision and they don't have all the facts. In other words, it really is one of those, we're not sure. We can see this in politics. I had the privilege of interviewing Condoleezza Rice several years ago, and I asked her that question. And I said, you had to make calls as national security advisor at times where lives were on the line and you didn't know that you knew, but you had to go with the best decision at the time. With the advice you just gave, thoughts on that, where there are times where you may not know if you're accurate, but you still have to lead. You still got to make a choice.
So my approach to that question would be part of the ritual or what I'm talking about, or the gestalt of what I'm talking about, is you need to be tuned up all the time. You need to make sure that your radar dish is true north all the time. And you have to constantly calibrate your compass. Am I true north? Am I true north? Where am I? To the point where at some point when you go, I am having this feeling, and because I'm having this feeling, I'm probably correct because I'm not nuts. I'm not hysterical. I'm not inaccurate. And by the way, I have a history. If you want to, we can go through all things COVID. I didn't get any of it wrong. If I'd gotten a lot of it wrong, then when the next thing came around the corner, I would have to question myself. I'd have to pump the brakes and go, well, wait a minute, Adam. You were way off on masks and you're way off on vaccines. You're way off on closing down the schools or way off on Hunter Biden's laptop or whatever it is. And then I would have to think about it. So you must be a good custodian of your own opinion, and you must be calibrated. And then when you're well calibrated, you'll get tuned up. And it's not unlike sort of a interpersonal thing where it's like, if you're really tuned into your emotions and you're level and you think this relationship isn't working out, and somebody could say, well, how do you know? Or maybe you're wrong, or give it another. You just go, I feel this. And if I feel it, it's enough. Like, I've had enough instances where I've just quit things or walked away from things or did things that didn't appear to make sense. And people would say, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing this? And I'd go, that's the way I feel. And I can't, and I have a high batting average.